Truckers, Part 4. Chapter 2. From the Book of Gnome, First Floor. And in the store there was neither night nor day, only opening time and closing time. Rain fell not, neither was there snow. And the gnomes grew fat and multiplied as the years passed, and spent their time in rivalry and small war, department unto department, and forgot all they knew of the outside. For they said, "Is it not so? Arnold Brothers, established 1904, has put all things under one roof." And those who said, "Perhaps not all things," were cruelly laughed at and prodded. And other gnomes said, "Even if there were an outside, what can it hold that we would need? For here we have the power of the electric, the food hall, and all manner of things." And thus the seasons fell thicker than the cushions that are in soft furnishing, third floor, until a stranger came from afar, crying out in a loud voice, and he cried, "Woe! Woe!" They tripped over one another. They walked with their heads turned upward and their mouths open. They gawked. Angelo had stopped by a hole in the wall and waved them through hurriedly. "In here," he said. Granny Morky sniffed. "That's a rat hole," she said. "You're not asking me to go down a rat hole." She turned to Torret. "He's asking me to go down a rat hole. I'm not going down a rat hole." "Why not?" said Angelo. "It's a rat hole." "That's just what it looks like," said Angelo. "It's a disguised entrance, that's all." "Your rat just went through it," said Granny Morky triumphantly. "I've got eyes. It's a rat hole." Angelo gave Grimma a pleading look and ducked through the hole. She poked her head through after him. "I don't think it's a rat hole, Granny," she said in a slightly muffled voice. "And why is that, pray?" said Granny huffily. "Because there's stairs inside." "Oh, and dear little lights," replied Grimma. It was a long climb. They had to stop and wait several times for the old ones to catch up, and Torret had to be helped most of the way. At the top, the stairs went through a more dignified sort of door into... Even when he was young, Masklin had never seen more than 40 gnomes all together at once. There were more than that here. And there was food. It didn't look like anything he recognised, but it had to be food. After all, people were eating it. A space about twice as high as he was stretched away into the distance. Food was stacked in neat little piles with aisles between them, and these were thronged with gnomes. No one paid much attention to the little group as it shuffled obediently behind Angelo, who had got some of his old swagger back. Several gnomes had sleek rats on leads. Some of the ladies had mice, which trotted obediently behind them, and out of the corner of his ear, Masklin could hear Granny Morky tut-tutting her disapproval. He also heard old Torret say excitedly, "Oh, I know that stuff! It's cheese!" There was a cheese sandwich in the bin once, back in the summer of '84. "Do you remember?" Granny Morky nudged him hard in his skinny ribs. "You shut up, you," she commanded. "You don't want to show us up in front of all these folk, do you? Be a leader. Act proud." They weren't very good at it. They walked in stunned silence. Fruits and vegetables were stacked behind trestle tables, with gnomes working industriously on them. There were other things too, which he couldn't begin to recognise. Masklin didn't want to show his ignorance, but curiosity got the better of him. "What's that thing over there?" he said, pointing. "It's a salami sausage," said Angelo. "Ever had it before?" "Not lately," said Masklin truthfully. "And they're dates," said Angelo, "and that's a banana. I expect you've never seen a banana before, have you?" Masklin opened his mouth, but Granny Morky beat him to it. "Bit small, that one," she said, and sniffed. "Quite tiny, in fact, compared to the ones we get at home." "It is it?" said Angelo, suspiciously. Oh, yes, said Granny, beginning to warm to her subject. Very puny. Why, the ones we got at home. She paused and looked at the banana lying on a couple of trestles like a canoe, and her lips moved as she thought fast. Why, she added them triumphantly, we could hardly dig them out of the ground. She stared victoriously at Angelo, who tried to outstare her and gave up. Well, whatever, he said vaguely, looking away. You may all help yourselves. Tell the gnomes in charge that it's to go on the haberdashery account, will you? But don't say you've come from outside. I want that to be a surprise. There was a general rush in the direction of the food. Even Granny Morky just so happened to wander towards it and acted quite surprised to find her way blocked by a cake. Only Masculine stayed where he was, despite the urgent complaints from his stomach. He wasn't sure he even began to understand how things worked in the store, but he had an obscure feeling that if you didn't face them with dignity, you could end up doing things you weren't entirely happy about. You're not hungry, said Angelo. I'm hungry, admitted Masculine. I'm just not eating. Where does all the food come from? Oh, we take it from the humans, said Angelo airily. They're rather stupid, you know. And they don't mind? They think it's rats, sniggered Angelo. We take up rat doodahs with us. At least the food hall families do, he corrected himself. Sometimes they let other people go up with them. Then the humans just think it's rats. Masculine's brow wrinkled. Doodahs, he said. You know, said Angelo. Droppings. Masculine nodded. They fall for that, do they? He said doubtfully. They're very stupid, I told you. The boy walked around Masculine. You must come and see my father, he said. Of course, it's a foregone conclusion that you'll join the haberdashery. Masculine looked at the tribe. They had spread out among the food stalls. Torret had a lump of cheese as big as his head. Granny Morky was investigating a banana as if it might explode, and even Grimmer wasn't paying him any attention. Masculine felt lost. What he was good at, he knew, was tracking a rat across several fields, bringing it down with a single spear throw and dragging it home. He'd felt really good about that. People had said things like, well done. He had a feeling that you didn't have to track a banana. Your father, he said. The Duke de Haberdashery, said Angelo proudly. Defender of the mezzanine and autocrat of the staff canteen. He's 3 people, said Masculine, puzzled. Those are his titles. Some of them. He's nearly the most powerful gnome in the store. Do you have things like fathers outside? Funny thing, Masculine thought. He's a rude little twerp, except when he talks about the outside. Then he's like an eager little boy. I had one once, he said. He didn't want to dwell on the subject. I bet you had lots of adventures. Masculine thought about some of the things that had happened to him, or, more accurately, had nearly happened to him recently. Yes, he said. I bet it was tremendous fun. Fun, Masculine thought. It wasn't a familiar word. Perhaps it referred to running through muddy ditches with hungry teeth chasing you. Do you hunt? He asked. Rats, sometimes, in the boiler room. Of course, we have to keep them down, said Angelo. He scratched Bobo behind an ear. Do you eat them? Angelo looked horrified. Eat rats? Masculine stared around at the piles of food. No, I suppose not, he said. You know, I never realised there were so many gnomes in the world. How many live here? Angelo told him. 2 what? Said Masculine. Angelo repeated it. You don't look very impressed, he said, when Masculine's expression didn't change. Masculine looked hard at the end of his spear. It was a piece of flint he'd found in a field one day, and he'd spent ages teasing a bit of binder twine out of the hay bale in order to tie it onto a stick. Right now it seemed about the only one familiar thing in a bewildering world. I don't know, he said. What is 1,000?